Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
While being an actor and a storyteller is unequivocally a job of privilege, sometimes they've really got to look into the heart of darkness in order to be able to pull out the appropriate story for the audience. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with, once more, as always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I am the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals, and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know what? If you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do, because you're listening, so please keep listening. And subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seat YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, God knows we would appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the TikTok, and probably a few other places at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats. InTheSeats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that eternal kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. You guessed right, boys and girls. We got more work to do in The Boneyard, which is on VOD now, and it's the story of just tragic murders and kidnappings along the border and what our law enforcement has to go through, and sort of the heart of darknesses that these men and women have to stare into in order to get the job done. Really comprises of. It's a damn good movie, and it's on VOD now. So go check it out. But first off, when you get a chance, well, not when you get a chance, do it now because you're listening. Enjoy our conversation with the one and only Brian Van Holt, who is the lead in this and plays Detective Ortega. He's a tortured soul, but he wants to do the right thing and just take it. The film, he really manages to take us down a very sort of deep and layered, character rabbit hole with everything that goes on sort of in this story and what these people have to endure. I've been a fan of Brian's for a while. You may have seen him from a variety of different things, from like action movies like Bullet in the Head, or comedies like Cougar Town or Basic, which was one of his first roles, which we talked a little bit about. But he's been one of those hardworking actors that for quite some time who I've always quietly appreciated, and just having a chance to talk to him was a lot of fun. But like I said, go check out Boneyard, starring Brian Van Holt, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, and the one and only Mel Gibson on video on demand platforms now. But first, enjoy our talk with Brian Van Holt, because between you and me, well, as I always say, it's a pretty darn good one. All right, well, Brian, man, first off, just thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate this.
Oh, hey, I appreciate it too. My pleasure.
I mean, congrats on Boneyard, man. I thought it was a hell of a movie. I guess my first question is just like, walk me through the early days, like having a script come across your desk or being asked to read, or what the whole process was.
Great question. I have a great story. So I did a TV show called Deputy, and we filmed it in Albuquerque. And while I was filming that, I met our writer, Vincent McDaniel. He was helping out craft service, and we just struck up a conversation, and he was appreciative of my work, and and my interaction with how I was on set. But he's like, I'm not really, this isn't what I do for a living. I'm just helping out crafty, but I'm a filmmaker, I'm a writer, producer, and I'm going to be making movies, and you and I are going to make a film together one day. And I'm like, I would love it. So literally like 3-4 years later, I get sent a script, and it's from Vinny. And so that was when stuff like that happens, when shit like that comes full circle, it's just special. And so that was it was an immediate and automatic yes. But then after I read the script, a definite yes. It's so good and intriguing. And especially this character, Detective Ortega, I needed and wanted to play this guy for multiple reasons.
Well, and I mean, that's what I think really drew me in, because I mean, obviously, like, for lack of a better term, there's some dark shit going on in this movie. I mean, how do you manage to sort of I guess, compartmentalize it not only as sort of this character, as this cop who's navigating sort of the ins and outs of everything that's going on, but as an actor who doesn't necessarily want to take this shit home with him at the same time.
Hard. I know. You can't help it. It just lives with you though sometimes. But you're absolutely right. You know, especially with this, you know, the material and the subject that's kind of upsetting or dark. Um, you want to leave that on the set, but I'm human, and you know, we're like sponges, and you just can't help but be affected. At least I can't. You know, I would with this story especially. I was before I even read the script. You know, there's a couple cases that this was inspired by that I was aware of, that I was already intrigued and interested by and kind of obsessed with. Um, and I was with this script and this story, and then the need to solve it, the need to solve this crime, and to trying to manage my own personal demons, and while I try to solve, you know, this crime, and my investment in it and my personal connection to it was you know, could get heavy at times. That's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm curious because obviously I've been a fan of yours for a while, but I mean, you've managed to sort of walk the line between doing these sort of grizzled badass parts versus doing some really funny stuff at the same time. Like, how do you manage to sort of make the jump between sort of the grizzled stuff and the comedy?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I just love I love making movies. I love making film and, like, you know, television and acting and directing. And I just love the whole process. You know, whether it's, I love doing comedy. I got my start in comedy. I started off doing not stand up, but just doing comedic stuff. It was, I think, I don't know. It was more of a, I don't know, natural. I don't know why, but I don't know. I love doing, you know, with, you know, there's, yeah, in comedy, you got to bring in they're both, they're intertwined a little bit. You know what I'm saying? In terms of drama, you can bring some sense of humor that, you know, like grounds your character and performance. And there's some, you know, my comedy sometimes can be serious or grounded. I don't know how to articulate it, but they both share the same kind of process for me. But I'm lucky enough to do both and to have the career that you know, that I've had and been able to cultivate. I feel blessed. You know, you know, I've been able to do some fun stuff.
You've been able to work on some really unique stuff. I mean, from Black Hawk Down back in the day, which basically had all of young Hollywood
I know.
to like basic working opposite somebody like Travolta, Stallone, and now this working opposite Mel. Like, how has those experiences kind of melded you going forward as an actor?
First of all, I've learned so much from you know, from these guys and from my experience with, you know, guys like Travolta and Stallone and, you know, Paul Giamatti, and I mean the Samuel L. Jackson, Tommy Lee Jones. It's just, you know, these are guys that I looked up to and that I was inspired by, and that I respected. And so you know, and sometimes it is intimidating. You know, you show up on the, say for Mel, for example, I'm a big fan of Mel, you know, he's an actor turned director. I'm the same. Um, and I am just, you know, I think he's a legend. He's so talented. And so I was, you know, to be honest with you, I was a little intimidated at first, a little nervous about meeting him and working with him, but immediately he kind of, you know, he's so kind, and he's such a professional, and you know, he was a serious actor, and he means business. And he came in totally invested, um, to the point where we were able to change some dialogue, rewrite some scenes, because Asif and Vincent, like, they allowed us to do that. And it's just so surreal, and so special to, like, you know, there's moments when I'm like, holy shit, I'm in a room right now, just me and Mel are just chopping up a scene, writing it, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm feeling that this is Mel Gibson, and then acting opposite with him in a couple of scenes, especially ones that we kind of tweaked. It was fun. It was good. He's so good, you know. I don't know, you know, it was just it's always special. I mean, when you're working with such huge stars, and you know, and talent like that. It's humbling. At the same time, it's I don't know, kind of, it's reaffirming my position in this business too.
Well, and plus, it's one of those things where you're going to get jobs, you're going to get parts. I mean, things aren't necessarily going to go as you may hope. I mean, Basic wasn't necessarily well received, but I mean, I personally I fucking love that movie. That's one of my
Same.
honestly, that's one of my favorite movies of the last 20 years. That movie never gets the love it deserves. How do you sort of? I guess the right way to put it is, is sort of throw yourself into a job on one end, but then be able to let it go on the other. Because I can imagine, like once it's done, it's done. You sort of have to be able to walk away and sort of move on to the next one.
Some of them you don't, you like, some of them are easier than others. You mentioned basic. I've been a part of a lot of TV shows and
Yeah.
films that I thought were, that didn't get the love and response or respect that they deserve. And not because of I'm just saying the quality of the overall show or film has been really good. And those are the ones that you kind of sit with you for um forever. Like basic, you brought it up. I love that film. I love that script. The original script was a little different, like written by Jamie Vanderbilt, but I thought that movie was, and that was a big, I was one of the leads, my first big lead role,
Yeah.
it was a big get and opportunity for me. Um, and yeah, you can't help but think sometimes, well, what if that was just a little bit more successful, had more, I think, my career would be a little easier, opportunities would be a little bit, there'd be more opportunities to be a little bit easier. But overall, you just you can't think like that, and you can't. But you have some shows and films that are more more closer to you, like John from Cincinnati, for example. For me, was working with David Milch. I'm still fond of it. I still feel the very connected to that show and that character, um and even like Deputy I just did not too long ago. I thought it was a phenomenal show, and that's it only went one season, but it was hard to like, sometimes it's harder to, let's just say have closure or get over certain experiences. Some are easier than others, but, um, still trying to navigate through some of those, you know what I mean?
Is there a preference at the end of the day? Because I mean, I can imagine on something like Boneyard where you're involved, you're getting to chop it up with Mel, and you're really sort of invested in the material, has its advantages over maybe a TV show where, okay, your pay might be comparable, but it's you're in for a day and it's just one part and that kind of thing, and then you're in and out. I can imagine there's pros and cons to both. Like, is there a
You,
preference when it comes down to it?
you nailed it. Somebody else asked me that same question. It's like the difference is, I like doing films. I love making movies and doing films and doing different characters for X amount of time and then being able to move on, bury that one, put that one to bed, and then move on to the next of it. Doing TV and especially if you're a regular on a show and you do multiple seasons, the payday's a lot better. Don't lie. Um, so it's good to have a balance. But if I had a choice, but it's so hard too because today the television is different today.
Yeah.
The quality of the scripts so much better. Then I had to say something except for this one. A lot of the scripts I read, some of the shows that I read for TV or they're almost better. Because it's different today. It's just the landscape of our business has totally changed. But it's hard to say. But I just like to work. I just love to make movies. I love to make TV shows. I love to act. I love to direct. I love the whole collaborative process of it, and I enjoy being on a set.
Well, and I can imagine, especially from an actor standpoint, you kind of have to make peace with the fact that getting a run on something like Cougar Town, like you did, is almost equivalent to hitting the lottery.
You don't realize that at the time.
Yeah.
You realize it now, though, looking back. You always think when you're, especially when you're young and you're getting like, you're going from one set to the other, you think that's always going to continue. But you do have your period. There's times when I haven't worked in 2 years. And that's not by choice. There's a couple, I wanted to, but this, things just, it ebbs and flows. But it is, you get on a show like Cougar Town that goes for 5 years, I mean, for 6 years. Um, it's like winning the lottery. Doesn't happen that often. So you got to really, don't try not to take things for granted. Um, Save some money when you make it. And just I just feel blessed at this. I mean, I've done this for so long. I think I'm more appreciative and grateful when I show up on a set today than I was when I was starting out.
Well,
I
I love
love
it.
it.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, Ryan, just put a bow on this. Thinking back, man, is there a movie or a moment in your life that kind of got you into this business?
One that I watched as an audience that I just,
Yeah, yeah. That made the light bulb go off. It's like, I want to do that.
oh man, there was At Close Range was one that moved me
Oh,
as a
love it.
kid.
Nice choice. Yeah.
Yeah, that that and in The Outsiders, I was a big S.E. Hint. I read my first book was The Outsiders. I think it was that. Anyway, that those early movies were it intrigued me and it piqued my interest, and I'm like, I didn't grow up. I grew up playing sports and like
Right.
hunting and doing that stuff and doing, but acting, I was always a fan of movies. I loved film as a kid. And I always wanted to do that until I love storytelling and I just got, like most people do. I mean, I'm sure but off the top of my head, those were some of the early stuff that I saw that I'm like, I want to do that.
Well, Brian, man, just thanks for the work on Boneyard, man, because it's so layered and it's so interesting. And to see these characters sort of navigate this world is just, it's a hard watch, but it's a fascinating watch. And I can't wait for more and more people to see it. But again, just, man, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh no, the pleasure was mine. Thank you.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.